We're gonna roll on with the shed hunting vlogs. Today I was gonna talk a little bit about shed hunting in fields and how I approach it here in the Midwest. The fields that we typically run into are cornfields, whether they're standing or cut, bean fields, whether they're standing or cut, and alfalfa fields. And I'm just gonna kind of explain how I approach each of these different fields a little bit differently. So start with alfalfa, especially if you're up in Wisconsin. Iowa not so much, but Wisconsin, North Dakota, there's quite a bit of alfalfa. And the deer get out there. If the snow's deep, the deer are gonna paw and they're gonna dig out all these areas. If there's snow on the ground and I'm shed hunting early in the season, I'm only gonna spend time pretty much going out and checking out all these areas where the deer are digging. I'm not gonna waste my time anywhere where there's deep snow. Once the snow's gone, I'm grid searching those fields. I wanna do these on cloudy days. I wanna walk these fields when it's cloud cover. If you're looking in the sun, it's extremely difficult. So if I'm gonna walk a field, I'm gonna wait for a cloudy day. And like I said, once the snow's gone on an alfalfa field, I'm gonna do like a zigzag fashion. Obviously, you always wanna work the outside of a field. Any grassy areas, if there's any waterways that come up in the fields, I wanna definitely look at those. Reason being is those grassy areas in the waterways are ideal for deer to bed down throughout the night in between feeding sessions. So it's a great spot to find sheds. So now we're gonna move on to bean fields. If it's a cut bean field, I'm gonna treat it a lot like an alfalfa field. I'm gonna check the areas where the deer are pawing out, walk the outsides, any kind of waterways, anywhere that the deer are bedding down. Once the snow is gone, grid searching it, walking the outside of it, and if it's a standing bean field, typically by the time the snow's gone, there aren't any pods left on the field unless it's a really big field. So once the pods are gone, or once the snow is gone, antlers are extremely visible. And especially if you wait till later in the spring, if it's a private piece of land where no one else is walking it, if you wait till late March, early April, after those antlers have been sitting in the sun, they're extremely visible in these standing bean fields, and it's almost like stealing candy from a baby at that point. So now cornfields. A lot of people have different feelings about shed hunting in cornfields, me especially. A cut cornfield, I have a lot of friends that'll shed hunt in cut cornfields, and I personally don't spend a lot of time in them, simply because there's so many objects, corn stalks, there's just so many things in a cut cornfield that look like antlers. My eyes go crazy and it's extremely hard to find them. They're there, don't get me wrong. I mean, you can pull sheds out of cut cornfields. People do it all the time. The deer are feeding in them. There's obviously sheds there, but it really takes a lot of focus. If you're anything like me, if I run into a cut cornfield that I know deer are really spending a lot of time in, I'm gonna work the outer edges, and I might work, the first couple of rows where the deer are coming into the field. But beyond that, I'm looking for waterways, I'm looking for bedding on the outside or the outskirts of the field, and then I'm moving on because I personally can't handle shed hunting in cut corn. So standing corn's a little bit different, but not entirely. So if you have a standing cornfield, a 2-acre standing cornfield, the deer might go through the entire thing. But if you run into, say, a 5, 10, 20-acre standing cornfield, there's a pretty good chance that the deer aren't even going anywhere close to the center of that field. They come in and they're gonna hit, the outside 10 rows, and that's pretty much where they're gonna feed the entire winter, is on that outside 10 rows. So that's where I would recommend spending the time. I don't spend a lot of time in cut cornfields, but when I do, I kind of work them where I'll walk a row and I'll almost cut across them. So I'm gonna walk and then cut across rows, and every 10 rows or so I'll bump down 20, 30 yards, and then I'll go back across them that way and keep bumping down the field back and forth until you cover it all the way, and then you bump down and keep coming through. So that's how I do it. For me personally, I rather shed hunt in a standing cornfield than a cut cornfield, just because the rows are typically pretty clean, and if there's an antler sticking out in one of the rows, you got a better chance of picking it up versus corn stubble where there's a ton of objects that look like tines and whatnot. Cut corn versus standing corn, I'd take standing corn all day long, and always working the outside edges, always working waterways, and yeah, that's how I tackle fields when it comes to shed hunting. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning into the vlog. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, comment down below, let us know if you're out shed hunting, if you guys are having any luck. We're gonna continue to roll these videos out for probably the next month and a half until we start gearing into turkey season. And we really appreciate you guys following along, so thanks again for watching the vlog.